I went into AEW All In with a ton of curiosity. I really wanted to know what it would be like to go into a WrestleMania level event with almost zero understanding of what's going on story-wise. I didn't even know the match card. The only match that I had previously heard was going to be happening was MJF versus Will Osprey. Other than that, I was really just going in for the ride. I would compare watching this more like watching a movie and less like watching a continuous TV show. I went into this with the full expectation of just, this is going to be a single event that I watch without much of a plan to follow up, and I definitely didn't watch any weekly shows leading up to it. I ended up getting way more than I bargained for, and I'm pretty excited to talk about it. Just to clear some things up, I'm a fairly new wrestling fan. I've been watching for a year and a half. I've gotten mostly familiar with the WWE, and we're learning about its history as me and my fiance go. But when it comes to the AEW scene and the roster, I haven't really been up to date whatsoever. Most of my knowledge has come from watching older matches. We'll get to that. I've already done a video about my first year of becoming a wrestling fan, and then I did a follow-up video where I watched AEW for the first time. So this was really only my second time sitting down watching an AEW show. And honestly, it was because I did enjoy myself watching Double or Nothing. By the end of that show, I was like, yeah, this was a good time. I may not understand the story beats or anything like that, but I enjoyed myself. And people in the comments of that video that I made on it said that All In was happening in a couple months, and I should check that out, and now here we are. I did actually do a live watch along for All In, and if you're at all interested in my specific reactions to a specific moment, that VOD is still up. You're welcome to click through it and see it that way, but I am going to go through the matches and what my general thoughts were as we go. Now, the first thing I want to address is the price point. $50 USD. It doesn't really matter if you decide it's worth it or not. You can have that debate all day, but at the end of the day, $50 is still $50. And I'm not complaining. I'm being understanding of those who see that as a barrier to entry that they can't overcome. Not everybody is going to be super savvy to the point where they're going to think to go to some website and find it for free, or to use a VPN to get it for cheaper. I've heard of all these different ways, but it does feel weird that you kind of have to jump through hoops to make it a little bit more affordable, because $50 for a single show, whether you call it 10 matches are worth it or 5 or 20, $50 is a lot of money to a lot of people. That's a tank and a half of gas for most people. That's a good chunk of groceries for a lot of people. Like, $50 is a pretty big barrier for the casual viewer who can't just throw $50 away every month. And I say every month under the assumption that AEW does something like this on a somewhat monthly basis. So I'm assuming and I am hoping that the rumors and the Tony Khan Max hat and everything, I'm hoping all of that is true, because I could see me consistently watching AEW on a more regular basis if it was on some sort of a streaming platform similar to how WWE is with Peacock. So before you come at me about the $50 thing, I paid it, I watched it, and I'm probably going to end up watching All Out as well. But I can just recognize that $50 is a barrier for a lot of people. So hopefully they get some sort of a streaming deal done. Now, like I said, I went into this not knowing who these wrestlers are for the most part. This is where I want to take an opportunity to thank the patrons and the supporters of this channel over the last 3 months. If you're not familiar, I have a Patreon where we do watch-alongs of old matches, where I give my thoughts and reviews on just old matches that you guys have been suggesting to me, and watching those had a huge impact on my viewing experience for AEW. I didn't necessarily recognize them all when I first saw them, but you guys in the chat also made sure to say, hey, you do actually know that guy. You saw him in this match that we watched like in July. And I would go, oh my God, you're right, I remember that guy. So if you're interested in being a part of that as we go forward, the experience in the Patreon has been a blast. We've been watching old matches and educating myself and my fiance, who I got into wrestling with a year and a half ago. I also invite you to join the Discord as well. There's no hatred toward any promotion in that Discord. That's a guarantee that I make now and forever going forward, as long as I have any control over it. We have been celebrating our love for WWE, New Japan, TNA, AEW, and everything in between, just talking about wrestling 24 hours a day, because we have people in the Discord from all around the world. So with that knowledge, I booted up AEW All In, and I missed a chunk of the pre-show, but I did catch the last couple matches of the pre-show, and I don't have a ton to say about the pre-show. It definitely came off like an opportunity to put a bunch of people in a few matches that maybe otherwise would not have made the match card. Like, it felt like they actually crammed in like 15 to 20 different wrestlers in these first 3 matches, and there wasn't much I could take from it. I didn't catch all of them anyway, but it didn't really feel meaningful or impactful to the show. It felt like just something cool to watch while you're waiting for the actual show to start. The show actually opened with a ladder match, which was pretty damn cool. This was the first time I had seen a trios ladder match, and it was filled with plenty of pretty cool spots. But it's a ladder match, so you kind of expect that it's going to get some pretty cool spots. Now, this match wasn't filled with a ton of people I was particularly interested in or previously invested in, but in terms of somebody just popping in and viewing it, it was extremely entertaining. It didn't prompt me necessarily to want to continue to watch or anything like that, but let's leave that for the later matches. Plenty of matches did do that, but this one was just a fun car crash to watch to open the show. The first one I really sunk my teeth into was Mariah May going up against Toni Storm. I find Toni Storm's character to be so interesting. I think it's very unique. The whole grayscale, timeless thing where she's from, like, what is she supposed to be from, like the 30s or the 40s or something? I don't know, but she plays her character very well, and she really leans into it. Her facial expressions really show that she is completely sunk into this character. And as my chat told me while we were watching the match, Mariah May did remind me of Tiffany Stratton, and they said that she kind of was a little bit of a, not a mirror of her, but that was probably the equivalent for AEW, the closest comparison. But they put on a really good match, and I did previously see clips of some sort of promo where Mariah did some crazy thing with her heel and Toni was all bloodied up. I did see clips of that. I saw like highlights of it on Twitter and whatnot. So I did have some idea that they had a deep feud going into this, but they did such a good job of getting me actually invested in who was going to win this one. This was a match that I didn't feel like I needed to watch the months and months that apparently was being used to build up this feud. It was just so well done. It felt like a match that I would expect in a WWE show that I have become accustomed to. Please don't mistake comments like that for saying that, oh wow, it was almost as good as WWE, the superior show. Those of you who've been here for more than like a couple days, you know that's not how I talk. What I mean is, when I watch WWE, I have built up a certain expectation of a storyline first expectation, and that actually kind of met it. I really felt like the in-ring storytelling was catching me up to speed and making me feel invested the way I would for a WWE show that I've already been watching for weeks. So early on, I loved that match and I was already enjoying myself watching All In. Next up was, I believe it was Hook versus Chris Jericho, and almost everybody was saying that this match was the bathroom break. This match was gonna suck. I don't just mean 2 or 3 people in the chat. I mean, everybody was saying, yeah, this one's probably not going to be very good. I didn't end up hating it that much. Maybe it's because my expectations were so low because of what everybody was saying, but I ended up thinking it was a pretty solid match. And then someone came to help Hook. If I remember correctly, I think people said that that was his dad. I hope I'm not mixing that up with another part in the show. I'm doing a lot of this from the top of my head because I don't want to Google anything and have anything mess with my review or judgment by the way they phrase things of how good or bad it was. But I thought that match was just okay. It was fine. It didn't really meet the Toni Storm Mariah May expectation that had just been set, but I mean, for how low the expectations were from what everyone was saying, it was fine. It was all right. I felt a little bad when the crowd was chanting please retire for Chris Jericho. I get it. He looks a little bit older. He looks like he's probably not in his prime anymore, are obviously not in his prime anymore. I felt a little rude. I don't really like chants like that, but then some folks in the chat were saying that that was kind of a gimmick that he was leaning into. I don't know how true that is, but I don't know. I don't love that. It felt a little mean, but whatever. I'm soft. After that, they followed it up with a triple threat tag match. I believe it was FTR, Young Bucks, and The Acclaimed. This was for the AEW Tag Team Championship, and I was pretty excited for this one once I found out that this match was even happening, because on the Patreon, I have seen some Young Bucks matches that I really liked. In fact, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, one of the matches I said that I think was becoming one of my favorite tag matches of all time was a Young Bucks match. So I was kind of disappointed when it didn't really hit for me. A lot of it just felt like spots for the sake of spots. It didn't really feel like the flow of the match was what I was used to. It really just kind of felt chaotic and random. And part of that could be because I was having trouble identifying who was who in terms of who was on whose team. I think a few guys were wearing like the same color and not just two. Like it seemed like 3 or 4 guys were wearing very similar outfits. I could only truly tell who the Young Bucks were just at a quick glance because their outfits were so much different. But when you're someone who doesn't see these guys on a regular basis, and some of them not even ever before, it can be tough to keep track. So it's a little bit easier if the outfits or the colors or the color coordination or anything helps differentiate, and you can kind of tell who's actually working with who. So I didn't particularly love that one, even though my expectations were a little bit higher. But when I found out that the next match was going to be this casino battle royal kind of gauntlet match, you had my attention. Shout out to everyone in the chat trying to explain how this match works for me while we were starting to watch it. I'd never heard of this match type before. I've heard of a gauntlet match before, but AEW calling it what they called it was kind of throwing me off. But it sounded really cool. So I'll start by saying I actually really like this match type. I like the idea that it's not just a countdown, until all 30 or 20 or whatever it is, and then you get an ending. As much as I do really enjoy the Royal Rumble and Battle Royals as they are, I think they're an extremely fun match type. This was a really cool breath of fresh air of there could be 20 plus wrestlers in here, but there could also just be 2. If you're not familiar, just really quick, it's kind of like a battle royal where a wrestler gets added every like 2 minutes or whatever it is. But the whole match just comes down to whoever can get the first fall, pinfall or submission. So technically speaking, the first 2 out there, one could pin the other before the third gets there, and the match is just over. That was the kind of drama that I was kind of looking for, so I was ready for it. And I have to give one more shout out to the chat for this one, because every time someone new came out, before that wrestler even made it to the ring, you guys were on point telling me, oh, that's this guy, he's this guy's friend, or he hates this guy, or something. You guys were very informative so that when the crowd would pop, I could kind of be in on the loop before they actually made it to the ring. It does seem like AEW did a really good job of paying some sort of a tribute or respect to, British wrestling. It seems like they had some UK guys show up for this, and I think that's really cool. I think it's a really good way to get the home crowd on your side, so to speak. And even though it was spoiled days beforehand, it was still a really cool moment to see Ricochet come out during this event. As much as I am a WWE fan and they're the #1 promotion that I watch, I'm not someone who's going to say, oh, you can have Ricochet, we weren't using him anyway. I see so much of that toxicity, it kind of drives me nuts. I truly believe that Ricochet is a really good fit for AEW, and I don't mean this in any backhanded compliment way. From what I can tell from AEW fans, those fans really prioritize the in-ring talent and skill and performance over the outside of the ring storytelling. I'm not saying there's no storytelling there. Believe me, you guys in the Patreon have absolutely showed me some fantastic storytelling outside of the ring in AEW. But it has become clear that the fan bases have different priorities. And from the strengths and weaknesses I've seen from Ricochet over in WWE, it really seems like him not being super great on the mic, but being an absolute gem in the ring, it sounds like a match made in heaven. So seeing him go in there, look all like cocky in a good way, like really playing up his character, and then just hitting all the sexy spots, that was really cool. I'm really happy for Ricochet. It seems like AEW fans are really going to embrace him, and I'm really excited to maybe watch a little more AEW and see what Ricochet does. I don't know if that means I'm going to lock into every show, but I would definitely look up, hey, what did Ricochet do this week? Which, in my opinion, is kind of like the first step in getting a continued interest in a new program. I think it makes sense to attach yourself to one program or one promotion first, get attached to all those wrestlers, learn a ton about that one, and then maybe when a wrestler that you did enjoy watching goes somewhere else, it convinces you to take a peek once in a while, and maybe eventually it falls into your rotation. Why did Christian Cage win this, though? I don't get it. It really felt like this would have been a cool moment. From what I can tell, everybody in the chat was saying, oh my God, anybody could win this. There's so many good options to win this match and get a cash-in or a title match as a result. I didn't fully grasp what you get when you win, but it sounds like you get a title match one way or another. Man, it didn't seem like anyone wanted Christian Cage to win, but he did. So we'll see if they do something fun with it, I guess. After that, we got into some really good stuff. So I've come to enjoy MJF from the promo side, the in-ring side. I think he's entertaining. I think he's pretty funny. My fiance Tally has built an affinity for Will Osprey from the New Japan matches that we had been sent on the Patreon. So we were pretty excited about this when two wrestlers that we were both pretty fond of in AEW and getting to watch them over in a WrestleMania level event. And that match was just so good. First of all, the entrances were great. Will Osprey doing this Assassin's Creed type of promo or ad integration was really cool. I did like that a lot better than how WWE will just put Cinnamon Toast Crunch all over the arena during certain matches. I don't hate that. It doesn't take me out of it that much at all, to be honest. I'm not even really complaining about those ads, but how creative it was to actually integrate this Assassin's Creed promotion in his entrance because he's a huge Assassin's Creed fan. That was so creative, and it was just really cool. It didn't feel like, it felt like it added to the entrance before it ever took away, which an ad part of your entrance would usually feel like it's taking away. Take, for example, Becky Lynch's entrance at WrestleMania. I love that she got to promote her book, but it definitely felt like it took away because it felt like an ad. It felt like a commercial. It didn't really feel like it made sense. MJF's entrance was fantastic. The whole leaning into the USA thing, the crowd still cheering for him, and then the streamers that fell from the top and the flag where his face were the stars, just it was too funny. It was such a good troll being from like the US and trolling the UK in that moment. But can we talk about how the streamers didn't all fall and they were just stuck hanging there? Did that kind of add something for you? It did for me. I actually kind of thought it looked cool and it made the match and certain cuts and certain angles, I felt like it added, dare I say, aura. It was cool. I thought it actually made it feel like a really important match. I really liked it. As for the match itself, the actual stuff that like Will Osprey was doing, the fact that I have actually gotten to see some of his matches on New Japan, the fact that I was able to call out some of his moves, it was really cool at this point to feel more included while watching this kind of stuff, while watching an AEW show, something that when I was watching Double or Nothing, I was so green. I was so new that it was all foreign to me. And it was really cool to be able to call maybe a finisher or a certain move that they like to do and kind of try to sort of understand what was being attempted. The ref bumps, the cameraman bump. I'm pretty sure the cameraman bump was in that match as well. It felt very AEW. It felt like it fit an MJF match, and Will Osprey is just so fun to watch. The stuff he does, and even MJF calling him out and be like, you think you're cool because you do flippy stuff? And then he tries to do the flippy stuff and misses. It was funny, but it was really entertaining. I'm actually really happy Will ended up winning it. I felt like it was perfect with MJF rubbing it all in the crowd's faces when he was entering. I felt like it was a really good way for him to lose. It was fun. It was a very, very good, entertaining match. And I asked myself, wow, why wouldn't they make this the main event? This felt like a main event worthy match. And you're telling me we still have a few matches to go? I don't know, man. That seems like a bad decision. So I immediately felt bad for whoever was going to have to follow that match, something I thought was main event worthy. God, I would hate to be the match after that, and it did kind of show. Full disclosure, I don't really love Mercedes Moné. I don't find her very entertaining. I don't find her character very interesting. It's not just her Mercedes character. I've seen some Sasha Banks matches from the Patreon as well, and those matches were fine, but again, it wasn't something that really hooked me to her character or wanting to see more of her. I didn't know who Dr. Britt Baker was. The match was kind of dull for, I would say, the first like 80%. The last like 15 to 20%, it did pick up. It did get interesting. Don't have a ton to say about it. I'm not going to sit here and pick apart something I have no expertise in. So I'm really just coming from the standpoint of, was I entertained? And the answer is no for most of that match. But it did pick up at the end, and it made me kind of think, okay, it wasn't, there's something there, but it was pretty forgettable in the grand scheme of this event. Up next was a Coffin Match, which I have only seen in video games. Jack Perry, who I don't know if I've seen in matches, against Darby Allin, who I am very sure I saw at Double or Nothing because he was hanging upside down by his ankles at Double or Nothing. So I shouldn't even be remotely surprised that he was the one with thumbtacks glued to his face. That dude's actually insane. Like, I don't even mean like he's so good, and I mean he might actually be like insane. But damn if he is not entertaining. That match felt like it got so brutal so quickly, and it didn't. I'm a little surprised. It felt like the match was actually shorter than I expected. I don't know, maybe I just thought that it would take a lot of attempts to get the coffin actually fully shut, so I was a little surprised when it eventually happened. But all the little moments, like throwing him in the body bag, dragging him over, all of it, it was very exciting. It was that extreme stuff that I don't really see almost ever when I'm watching WWE. So it's kind of nice that this separate show, it's like once in a while I get to watch the super extreme video game version of what I normally watch. And for them to pour the gasoline on the coffin and have a special moment where Sting came out, I didn't fully grasp the gravity of the situation. It was explained a bit further from the chat, and from what I can tell, it was a really special moment. It seemed like the crowd there really liked it. It's one of those things where I wasn't feeling what you guys were feeling, but I could absolutely recognize the gravity of the situation, and that this is a big moment. So I was able to kind of just at least look at it through that lens. I still think it would have been cool if they lit the coffin on fire somehow. Now that it was becoming to be nighttime, I think it would have looked cool, but that's just nitpicking. We got to talk about this main event, though. We have to talk about this main event. I have not seen a lot of Swerve Strickland, but I have seen a ton of Bryan Danielson / Daniel Bryan. And I say slash because on the Patreon, looking at you guys, patrons, you guys have sent me like 12 plus matches of either Bryan Danielson era or Daniel Bryan era, all the way from like WWE, Ring of Honor days, AEW days. I have seen a lot of matches from this man, and I really do get why so many people vouch for him as one of the greatest of all time, if not one of the best just actual in-ring wrestlers of all time. So I am extremely thankful for this community for bringing me to a moment where I could feel invested in wanting him not to retire. If I didn't know who he was at all, it would have just felt like a normal match. But the fact that I got to actually sink my teeth into this, actually care, and actually not want him to retire. For those of you who aren't aware, Swerve, it was a title versus career match. Swerve was putting the title on the line. Bryan Danielson was putting his career on the line. He was supposed to retire. His contract just ran out. So I feel like it was very much expected that Bryan Danielson was just going to lose this match, put on a banger, but go out in style. This match hit everything I loved. Like the near falls, the hero getting beat down, but finding a way, like finding like little ways to kind of come back and get himself back into it. The moments where, I don't know what he calls it, but where he hits him, where he jumps up and gets him with his knee. A few surprise moments of that where the crowd just exploded thinking this might be it. The involvement of Bryan's family and like the taunting of the kids was interesting. It really made it felt like this is a retirement match. It really sold it like this was going to be his last match, with all the dressing, all the decoration that was put on this. And god damn it, I was tearing up, and so was Tally when he won this damn match. It felt like emotion that was earned. It really felt like they told the story in the ring flawlessly. The fact that I was able to be I mean, I'm kind of a sissy apparently when I'm watching wrestling, but still, the fact that I was like brought to a point of holding back tears because of like the 12 matches, which by the way, if you really think about it, it's not just 12 random matches. I got sent like 12 of like his best things of all time, like through the Yes Movement, all that. So, you know, I got to see his very high highs, and I wanted so bad for him not to be done. I want to see more of him. I really enjoy this guy, and just the emotion of it all, and in chat saying they were freaking out, and it was such a cool moment. And I have felt this before. I felt it watching WrestleMania 40. I felt it during some other shows as well, and it was just amazing that a show that I'm not particularly invested in from a week to week basis, it's amazing that it was able to bring me to feel that. This is why wrestling is so damn cool. And as a newcomer to the product, it frustrates me to see the tribalism of multiple fan bases tearing at it. Like after the show was over, I'm scrolling TikTok and I'm seeing photos of empty sections at Wembley Stadium, and it's just people trying to tear at AEW for their attendance. And then it's the AEW people firing back saying, "Oh, well, they did the same thing at SummerSlam," and it's just. I recognize that those people are probably not the majority. I recognize if you're watching this far into the video, that's probably not you. So I respect you for that. But I'm not going to act like it's not frustrating as someone who has literally gotten into pro wrestling. I never watched a full wrestling show before until WrestleMania 39. I have fallen in love with this whole thing, the art of it, the storytelling of it, the talent behind it. Just, I love this. I'm 32 years old. I wish I would have found this sooner. Who knows what else I would have done differently in life, but I feel very confident that this is going to be something I am going to enjoy and I'm going to watch for the rest of my life. So yeah, if I'm able to enjoy another promotion like AEW, even if it's not consistently my cup of tea, even if it's not catering to exactly what I want, I can find things to enjoy like this show. I know they're not all like All In, but you know what? I watched Double or Nothing and I had a blast. I just watched All In and I had a blast. I'm going to stream a watch party for All Out, and I bet you I'm going to have a blast. Does that mean I'm going to watch Dynamite and the other shows every single week? Probably not. Maybe. I don't know, but I'm enjoying what I can from it. If I had to guess, WWE is going to remain my favorite promotion and my primary promotion that I watch from a week-to-week basis for the foreseeable future. But after today, I can consider myself, I am an AEW fan. I am all elite. You know, the Double or Nothing enjoyment, you never know, that could have just been a one-off, but now that I have seen the matches on the Patreon that have built up the backgrounds of so many of these wrestlers that I have seen on AEW, and I've gotten to see them in a full big stage, big show form, yeah, I'm gonna keep watching. I'm gonna watch more of it. As much as I've heard so many people, when I say so many people, I literally mean people not in this community, by the way. So I'm not talking about anybody that are in the Discord or in the Patreon. I'm talking about the people who drop in randomly and comment, "Hey man, don't watch AEW. It's not worth it. It sucks, bro." You suck, bro. This stuff's awesome. It's fun. Why would I not watch something that's it's literally what I enjoy? I like pro wrestling. This is pro wrestling. Just because it's not my favorite show doesn't mean I'm not going to have a blast when I watch it. I'm ranting. I apologize. That's not the point of this video. It has been driving me nuts. I really want it to just be known and understood that, yeah, in a year and a half of watching wrestling, yeah, I have not found a show that I actively dislike, and AEW has only grown on me. And I'll admit, it was kind of difficult. It was difficult to get into AEW because I was seeing all of this stuff online. I'm seeing AEW fans attack the thing that I like, which is the WWE. I understand that it's being thrown both ways, but when you see people attacking the thing that you like, there is a natural response to put up a wall and feel defensive for it, and that's all I was doing. I never fired back. I've never been one of the toxic fans, but was I looking at AEW differently and maybe almost hesitant to watch more because I felt like, well, why would I want to watch that? Their owner talks nonstop crap about my show. Their fans talk nonstop crap about my show. But when we did the watch along for AEW, guess what happened? None of that. A ton of AEW fans that I have not seen before, that were new to my community, came into the chat and were welcoming with open arms the same way WWE fans were when I got into that a year and a half ago. At this point, I've gone completely off script. My notes aren't at all following what I'm saying, but I'm speaking from the heart right now. I love wrestling, and I'm gonna watch more of this. I'm gonna keep watching WWE, and maybe I'll get into New Japan and TNA out of more. I'm going to my first TNA show in November, or maybe it's October. Whenever Bound for Glory is in Detroit, I'm going. Already bought my tickets, third row. We are excited. So if you're interested in being a part of this journey where I am exploring the different sides of wrestling and getting through the history, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord, and if you want, check out the Patreon. There is a free tier so you can see what it's about, and if you enjoy that, you can always upgrade to the paid tier at any point and get a metric F ton of content that is constantly being put out there. on a daily basis. I enjoyed talking about this with you and anybody willing to listen, so thank you for watching the video all the way to this point. If you have, thank you so much, and I really mean this, especially with how much it affected my enjoyment of this show. Thank you so much to every single name flying up the screen right now for your support and your guidance and the education that you have helped provide me and my fiance so that we could enjoy wrestling at a faster pace than someone trying to learn all of this by themselves. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.